Well, they call it the round door rolls for a reason, and that's because the doors on both sides are almost perfect circles. And they're hinged so interestingly. There are only two places they're hinged, and when you open it up, it only goes about that far, because as far as it comes out in the front is as far as it goes in the rear. And in fact, when you climb into this car and you sit in the back, you have to slouch, because although it's almost 20 feet long and 5,600 pounds, there's so little room in the back for almost anything. But in the front, you've got a commanding view of the road, and it really is quite comfortable. It's like sitting on your sofa. Something interesting, as long as you're going to have round doors, you might as well make the windows a little bit exciting to operate. And this car delivers on that, very much so. It's got a centrally located window crank. All you have to do, turn it, and the window opens in a fan pattern. When you're ready, you just close it up again. It's all part of the drama of presenting a car at a Concours d'Elegance in the day and getting people to notice you, getting the judges to notice you. Hello, my name is Leslie Kendall. I am the Chief Historian of the Petersen Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. Today it's my pleasure to introduce you to one of our most high-profile cars, one of the jewels of our collection. It's our 1925/1934 Rolls-Royce with custom coachwork by Jonckera of Belgium. It's kind of an unusual combination of British chassis with flashy European coachwork, but it was built for the Concours d'Elegance of the day, and it certainly did the job. It was one of the most extraordinary cars of its era, and one of the most Art Deco cars ever built. Like all Rolls-Royces prior to World War II, when you bought this car from Rolls-Royce, you were not getting the entire car, you just got the chassis. So what you had to do was send the chassis or have the chassis sent to a coach builder, somebody who would build a body for you. In this case, the original body was built in 1925 by Hooper. It was a four-door cabriolet that the original owner didn't like very much. That original owner was Mrs. Hugh Dillman, who actually was Anna Dodge, the widow of Horace Dodge, one of the Dodge brothers, very, very wealthy, in fact, one of the world's wealthiest women. She didn't like the original four-door cabriolet, so she had it sent back. But eventually, it went on to the used Rolls-Royce market. And in those days, it was still possible, if you didn't like the coachwork of a car, but liked the chassis and liked the performance and liked the luxury that provided, you could keep the chassis, throw away the body, and have a new body made. And that's exactly what one owner did. History doesn't record who that owner was. In fact, if anybody out there knows, please tell us. But in 1934, the original four-door cabriolet Hooper coachwork was taken off, and this body was substituted by Jonckera of Belgium. Today, Jonckera is known for building buses, coaches, if you will, mostly for European town use, for moving one people to another, like a city bus in America. But back then, they would build a bespoke body of any kind that you wanted. And the customer here wanted probably what is today considered one of the most exotic, one of the most Art Deco vehicles of all kind. In 1936, it was known to have won the Prix d'Honneur at the Cannes Concours d'Elegance. In those days, the Concours d'Elegance wasn't just a display of expensive cars that were perfectly restored. Concours d'Elegance was more what the name implies. It was a place to show your elegance, to show your sophistication. After its time in the Concours limelight, the car fell into disrepair. We don't know its ownership history, but it is known to have been owned in Bar Harbor, Maine for a period of time, and ultimately it found its way to a scrapyard or a junkyard, we believe, in New Jersey. Photographs of the day show that this car was painted white at the time and was rusty. It had rust spots in it. It was derelict condition, but it was solid. It appeared to be all there. It wasn't a vehicle that you had to go and try to find the grill for. You had to find the little parts, because it's exactly what every restorer likes to find, a complete car that's relatively untouched, despite how bad the condition was. Well, that car was rescued by a fellow named Max Obie. Max Obie was an entrepreneur who had a collection of very interesting and exotic vehicles. And every so often he would show these vehicles to groups, he would display them at theaters, he would charge a fee to go in and look at them. This car he took around in a very large semi-trailer and would charge curious aficionados $1 to walk in the trailer and take a look at it. Max said and advertised that this car was originally, in this configuration, the property of King Edward VIII, the gentleman who abdicated the throne of England ultimately, which has been proven to be false. No King of England is going to have a car with a wild coachwork that was put on a second-hand chassis that he would drive himself. In fact, this car takes quite a bit of personal involvement when you're driving it. It is not easy. It weighs about 5,600 pounds and is almost 20 feet long. So needless to say, you're not going to throw this car into a corner or try and parallel park it. That's for the chauffeur to worry about. After its time with Mr. Obi, the car was sold and it came into possession of a number of collectors and eventually ended up in Japan. Mr. Peterson discovered it in Japan some 10 or so years ago and decided, you know what, this car needs to be back in the United States. This car needs to be restored to its original glory so that it can be everything that it was in 1934, 35, and 36 when it was the star of the concourse circuit. So Mr. Peterson purchased a car, had it taken to Los Angeles, and we had it restored. And as you look at the cars, we were taking it apart and restoring it, a couple of things became obvious. The chassis was all 1925. As you might expect, it was originally built in 25, originally bodied in 1925. But everything above the chassis, in other words, the body, the instrumentation, the lights, everything, was 1934. So you can kind of tell that they took a 1925 chassis, took the body off, put a 1934 body on it. Mr. Peterson had it restored to perfection, and it debuted at Pebble Beach. In fact, it won the Lucius Beebe Award for the Rolls-Royce that was most in keeping with the bon vivant Lucius Beebe. Since then, the Rolls-Royce has formed an important part of the Peterson Automotive Collection and is on continuous display either in the vault or upstairs at one of the galleries. The car is composed really of basically one shape. You've got a circle here with a flowing area behind it, a circle there with a flowing area behind it, and a circle here with this slope behind it. And decorating the slope is none other than a fin that's about 18 inches tall in the rear. The car also has louvers in the rear that open, that are open to a window that is actually vertical in the back. So there is a little space in here between the outside and the glass that actually protects the occupants inside. On the top, you've got not one but two sunroofs that open independently of each other. You have one for the driver, one for the passenger. Starting the car is a little bit interesting, and it's not like modern cars, certainly not like a modern Rolls-Royce, where you turn the key. Pardon me, you don't even have to turn the key. You just get in and push a button. This car, you have to turn the key, you have to flip a knob, you have to flip a switch, you have to adjust the mixture, the throttle, the spark advance on the steering wheel column, and then you can start the car by pressing a button on the floor, and then you have to readjust all of those settings once the engine is running, and you can put it in first gear and you can go down the road. And going down the road takes a little bit of muscle in this car because it does weigh 5,600 pounds, almost 3 tons. And its extreme length and very, very long rear overhang it kind of guarantees that you're going to have to approach slopes at very slow pace and at just the right angle so you don't scrape the rear. Another very dramatic styling element of this car is the sloping grille shell. And I said shell, not grille, because the original Rolls-Royce grille is actually intact behind this sloped covering. This actually fits over the radiator grille and is sloped. Today, it's not uncommon for a car to look like this, but back in the mid-1930s, it was extremely unusual for a Rolls-Royce to have a sloping grille shell like this, because they were intended to be very correctly formal cars, and it was considered a bit of a desecration to make a car, make a Rolls-Royce look so sporty. Because the fin on this car is so large, you cannot design a trunk lid to open the way they normally do, which is from the front. So this one opens from the side like this, and it reveals luggage that's fitted for the car. This luggage fits only this car. And you'll notice how it opens. It opens on the right because this car was intended for use in British Crown colonies. It was originally, of course, built in England, so it's a right-hand drive. So the sidewalk would be on the left whenever you pulled up to a hotel or your country house or whatnot, or restaurant, and they would need to take the luggage out from the sidewalk. So this made it a little bit easier for your valet, your chauffeur, and the hotel bellhop. Thank you for joining us to talk about our 1925/1934 round door Rolls-Royce. We appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you again.